Well, hey everybody, and thank you for tuning in to this episode of Fishing with Jesus. Today we're going to discuss one of my favorite verses in the Bible, naturally, as a fisherman. Matthew chapter 4, verses 18 to 22. And this is at the beginning of Jesus' ministry. This is when he comes across his first disciples. One day, as Jesus was walking along the shore of the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, also called Peter, and Andrew, throwing a net into the water, for they fished for a living. Jesus called out to them, "Come, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." And they left their nets at once and followed him. A little farther up the shore, he saw two other brothers, James and John, sitting in a boat with their father, Zebedee, repairing their nets. And he called them to come too. They immediately followed him, leaving the boat and their father behind. And I've been wanting to make a video about this for a while. It's right here in this part of the Bible, when Jesus is starting his ministry. He's got 4 disciples out of all the 12 that are later to come. So at least 4 disciples we know here are fishermen. Why did Jesus call fishermen into his ministry? So let's dive into maybe why Jesus chose fishermen to be disciples and part of his ministry and help spread the gospels and the word. So one reason Jesus could have called fishermen into his ministry is their relatability, as far as fishing being a common occupation in the region. Calling fishermen would have allowed Jesus to connect with his disciples and basically convey those spiritual truths using analogies related to their everyday experiences, which is basically what I hope this video can be for you, is just preaching the word, teaching the Bible, preaching the gospel, and try to make it as relatable as I can in today's age that we're in. So another reason Jesus could have accepted them is for their teachability and their commitment. Fishing requires patience and perseverance, and these qualities basically make fishermen more receptive to Jesus' teachings and more prepared to endure the challenges that would arise during their time as his disciples. If you're, anybody that fish, especially if you fish tournaments or so, or you competitive fish, you know what it's like to basically be humble and know that you need to persevere. Things may not go your way. So you have to have this natural sense of perseverance, because if you don't have that perseverance when things don't go your way or how you expect, you'll spin your wheels and you'll just spin out, and you'll lose track and you'll lose focus of the big goal at hand, because you have basically just a big picture focus of what you need to do. So that's what allows you and helps you learn that perseverance. And through trying to establish that perseverance, you teach yourself these lessons. You're able to learn these lessons, and then once you learn these lessons and things that happen, that's this experience, as you gain more and more of this experience going through this perseverance, you're now able to teach that to others. Another reason Jesus may have called fishermen into his ministry is maybe their physical stamina. Fishing at this time required it was a physically demanding profession. It required strength, it required endurance, it required resiliency. Jesus probably recognized these qualities in fishermen and believed they would be better equipped to handle all the physical demands of his ministry, involved in the travel and on foot across all the terrains and spreading the gospel and spreading the news. I mean, I kind of relate that to today's fishing. You know, you're on the front deck of the boat, and whether that's a good or bad day of fishing on the water, you know, your feet might start hurting, your back might start hurting, but if you've got this narrow focus, you kind of, yeah, your body might be hurting, but you kind of forget about those things. And you're zeroed in on your goal when you're in the front deck of the boat and you're fishing. And kind of those things kind of go away for the moment because you're zeroed in. And I think that's that resiliency that Jesus was looking for in fishermen. You know, if you're fishing a tournament, you're trying to get those 5 fish, you know, and yeah, the feet might hurt, or your back might start hurting, or you know, any of those things. You kind of like push through. I've got a goal in mind. Let's do it. And today, that's kind of how we should maybe think about, you know, spreading the Gospels. You know, it's, yeah, I hate to do all this. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. But I gotta keep in mind, I gotta be spreading the gospel. I gotta be spreading the gospel. It's that resiliency that Jesus is looking for. That resiliency, and I love that word, especially when it comes to fishing. The key to being a successful fisherman, whether you're a fisherman or a fisher of men, is that resiliency. The willingness to power through when times are tough because you know you have a bigger goal at the end. Another reason why Jesus might have called fishermen to his ministry is their humility and their openness. Fishermen were likely accustomed to the unpredictability of their trade and the humility required to work with nature. In other words, fishing in conditions, weather, sunshine, shade, right? We're in nature, right? This is a fish in the water where he already lives. So there's humility of that, of like you're dealing with conditions, and the humility is that you have to know and be humble that you may not always catch fish. It may not always happen for you. It kind of goes back to getting that experience. And those experiences could have cultivated a spirit of openness and readiness to accept new ideas or directions, which made them more receptive to Jesus' teachings. Building up, you know, understanding that you got to have the humility and openness to make decisions on the water. The weather's popping up. It was sunny, now it's cloudy. What are we going to do? This is basically being a fisherman that's willing to adapt, open to change directions and new ideas. And Jesus wanted that, you know, because at any point in time, your life can go in any direction. God can be calling you to something even though you thought you needed to go in this certain direction. You thought you needed to go throw a wacky worm and June bug on the bank. The weather switched up on you now, and the wind's blowing. This bank's done. Now you need to go, and the sun is shining. You got to go somewhere else, and maybe go in deep water and throw a football jig. You know, you got to be willing to change it up in order to go and achieve something that you need to achieve. Your goal is just to catch fish, right? In order for the apostles to catch more men, they needed to be willing to change things up at any point in time through Jesus' ministry. And the last thing is that fishing is basically a spiritual metaphor. Fishing has been used basically throughout the Bible as a metaphor for spiritual concepts. You know, and Jesus may have been intentionally choosing fishermen to symbolize the idea of fishing for souls, fishing for men. And basically what this means is fishing for souls, fishing for men, fishing for people, is engaging in the task of bringing people to faith in God, spreading the gospel, showing them the word, showing them the path that Jesus has made for them, that we can be one with God. And by calling fishermen, Jesus may have been illustrating the importance of evangelism and spreading the gospel, which is the good news. I hope this has reached you in some sort of way. I love this this little verse right here when Jesus calls the fishermen to his ministry. And me being a fisherman over time and really being, I guess you could say, a newcomer into digging into the Bible, this was one of the first things that I read. And to me, I was just really like, wow, Jesus called fishermen. And here I am now, trying to teach and spread the Gospels to other fishermen or anybody alike. Being a fisher of men. It's just another way that God's working in my life and everybody's life. But it's just a great reminder as a fisherman as well that Jesus chose somebody with characteristics similar to mine when it comes to fishing to be in his ministry. And as a fisherman, and when I am fishing and I'm on the water, I try to remember these principles and why Jesus chose fishermen. You know, resiliency, teachability, physical stamina, willing to get through it, powering through it. Because not every day is going to be a good fishing day. Not every day the fish are going to bite. Not every day everything will go according to plan. And if you fish long enough already, you already know that about 90% of the time, your game plan's always going to change. And you have to be willing to adapt. You have to be open. And you have to be willing to go where God calls you to go. And I think if you're watching this and you are a fisherman, maybe you've never heard of these concepts from the Bible, I challenge you to take these concepts on your next fishing trip, your next day on the water. And understand that, yeah, you might have this game plan in mind, but you might have to change it up. Or it's going to be a tough day. Maybe you didn't have your 5 fish limit by noon, but you still got 2 hours left to fish. You got to be resilient. Power through it. Don't lose focus. Stay the course. Keep fishing. And keep casting. Because you never know when you're going to catch a fish limit or you're going to catch that big fish. Stay resilient. Keep an open mind. Adapt. Be a fisher of men. Let God call you where you need to go. Thank you for listening. I hope this speaks to you. And please subscribe to our channel and tune in next time as we'll dive more into God's Word. Thank you.